What's going on, guys? Openhand here, back with another Nioh 3 build video. This time it's going to be the final version of the build I posted last week, where basically I've completed New Game Plus. This is, in-game build. Playing a lot more, I've learned a lot more stuff, so I just wanted to show the final version because I think it turned out pretty cool. I think a lot of people will might enjoy playing something like this, because it's not an axe build, it's not a spin the win kind of thing. It's a little bit of brain power involved in this one, but it's fun. It's got crazy survivability, pretty good damage, and yeah, it's just something that you can make. This is obviously going to be the in-game, New Game Plus kind of version, but this is something you can make pretty early, just in your normal first playthrough. If you get the right gear, there's not a lot of stuff that's required as far as like gear set and stuff go. A lot of gear sets, or a lot of the gear set is really kind of up to preference. You'll see here in a minute I go for more of like a tanky kind of setup, just because I don't like, I like being as tanky as possible, basically in games like this, so I don't have to worry about dying. And this build really, it's kind of like what I said last time. It's still incredibly hard to die, even on New Game Plus here, where they hit way harder. But the idea, remains similar. We are using dual swords and primarily low stance here. And the reason that I'm doing that is because a triangle with the dual low swords, every time you hit them, it hits 4 times. So what we're using here is a ton of life recovery and redo absorption. So that means that every time I hit triangle, I will hit them 4 times, and then 12 orbs will come out, and for every orb that I absorb, I heal for a certain amount. So it will be, I think I have 55 read absorption on here. So 55 times 12 would be what I would heal for every time that I hit triangle. So I mean, it's a crazy amount of healing, crazy amount of survivability. That coupled in with, I have a lot of, like I said, pretty defensive sets here. A lot of damage reduction, which I'll get into in a minute. But yeah, just it's really, really, really tanky. And again, like I said, the damage is pretty good. Because now that I've actually learned how to play the game a little bit, I've figured out some pretty optimal stuff to boost damage and all that stuff. So what exactly is the combo here that I use? It's pretty simple here. I will generally do 2 heavy attacks like that, and then I will use my I'm not even sure what this thing's called, to be honest. Oops, let me check real quick. Stance, it's called Winter Wind, which basically when you do a key pulse, if you're holding forward, you'll kind of launch forward and do like a slice. So basically what I do is I will do 2 heavy attacks, and I will do that, and I will use this to kind of like link heavy attacks, right? And I will do that until my arts gauge on the right gets full, and then I will start doing 2 heavy attacks, link it, and then I will do this martial arts here, link, 2 heavy attacks, link, martial arts, link, and that's pretty much the combo. And basically, if you do that, like, you never run out of arts proficiency, and you will do way more damage than prior. And the thing about that too, which is so good, since we're throwing these heavy attacks in the combo here, we're going to be healing the whole time. So even though we're using this martial arts here to kind of link and keep the arts proficiency gauge alive, we're doing enough heavy attacks, we're going to be healing the whole time. Like, we're doing this basically until we run out of stamina or we get knocked out of our combo. But we're using, obviously, I mean, I'm going to get into skills and stuff later, but we're using the thing where we get basically hyper armor when the arts gauge is full. Now, granted, it's not like hammers where you're spinning and you're infinitely immune to getting hit and getting knocked out of your spinning or whatever, because there are some gaps here. Obviously, the main gap being the dash. But when you're doing like this, or when you're doing this kind of stuff, you're not going to get staggered, basically. So it's very consistent as far as doing damage and keeping the arts proficiency gauge alive. And you'll just do a ton of damage. I'm going to add some gameplay to the end of this video, which, check that out, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. It's just, the arts proficiency is so good if you can just find a way to really utilize it correctly. But yes, that's kind of the game plan. So that's the combo. Again, we use heavy attack, 2 heavy attack. Just keep doing this until you get the arts proficiency gauge full. Once it's full, you just go to town with this. Throw in the martial arts. And just chain. right? Alright, so anyways, that is basically the game plan as far as that goes. I guess I will quickly get into what martial arts I'm using here. So I already talked a little bit about the Winter Wind thing. Again, all you do here is basically if you're just holding forward the whole time you're trying to do this combo, you're going to be fine. So that's what I do. I'll just hold forward even when I'm hitting triangle and doing my martial arts, just so I can pretty much always Winter Wind when I just hit the keep alls button. But the only other thing that you really need here is this crucible art called Double-Headed Slice. Now I like this because it links pretty well with heavy attacks. Like there's not a lot of like slow stop animation or anything like that. It's pretty smooth, and it does really good damage. So this is a crucible art. You're gonna have to farm this from the crucible and get the weapon. But it's just really solid. Obviously, it's a low stance only kind of thing, but it hits so much. And again, there's so much stuff I've talked about here, but you'll see, I mean, why this is particularly a really good martial art to use, aside from it just being, really high damage and linking very well with, the heavy attack strings and stuff. But that's really all you need as far as the required ones here, because it's the combo. Everything else you can kind of, whatever you want. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into the gear. Like I said, the gear is kind of up to you, really. I prefer being more tanky. There's nothing like required as far as gear goes here. So if you want to go for a more damaging route with, some martial arts boost or something like that, you can do that. But I really just like having, less damage taken and being as tanky as I can, because the damage is really, it's pretty good as is, And since we're split between heavy attacks and martial arts, it's kind of, I'd say heavy attacks probably a little bit more important because you do more of it. So it's not as impactful just buff one or the other. Usually you want to kind of look for stuff that has both, which there is, a lot of skills particularly. Buff your, like when you're in arts proficiency, buff your martial arts and your heavy attack, which is really, really nice. But again, I just kind of like to go for a tankier set. But as far as the gear goes here, Crucible Saw is here. As you can see, this is a Crucible weapon. Now, the debuff thing that you get when you use a Crucible weapon is basically if you get hit, your life gauge will start to shorten and you'll have like kind of perma lost health or something like that. And the way you recover it is by attacking. Now, we are so aggressive where that is not a problem at all. Like really, you're going to get hit a couple times. Doesn't matter since we're so aggressive and we have a lot of hyper armor from skill and stuff like that. When we're in arts proficiency, we're just going to be running at the enemy, and we, again, being so tanky, we're not really worried because we're going to be healing the whole time, and that is not a problem. Now, the reason that you want to use these Crucible weapons is because they just straight up do more damage. You can see here the melee damage here. It's a green thing, and it basically is a double effect of what you would get on a normal weapon. And I think that Crucible weapons have some kind of like innate damage bonus like built in them. I think it's like 5%. The more health that you lose, the more damage you're going to do, but we're not going to be losing health. We're just taking advantage of that innate 5% increased damage. Plus, there's a title that boosts Crucible weapon damage as well. But yeah, I mean, there's really no downside in using this, is my point with this build. So you just, use this so you can just do more damage. But the reason too, I know a lot of people put like the imbue elements and stuff on here. It's terrible. Do not use weapons with imbued elements. What we're doing here is we're going to be buffing, right? And the reason why is because the talisman buffs are significantly better than any imbue that you can just get on your weapon. The reason being is that the imbue on the weapons, like they do jack shit as far as building up statuses go. Like you're not going to proc a single status if you have imbue on your weapon. But if you have a talisman and you attack really, really quick like we do, you're going to be proccing all these status effects all the time. So, yeah. And also, the talismans just in general, like when you apply the element to your weapon, you just do way more elemental damage than you would if your typical imbued weapon. So, talisman definitely the way to go. The downside, obviously, is there's a timer for it. But, we take a couple precautions here to try to keep that timer going as long as we can. I think the buff lasts for, I want to say 1 minute, like 3 seconds or something with my current setup, so it's fine. And then we take another skill, which makes it so it's pretty seamless to rebuff. We, buff faster. The Omeo magic speed boost thing is what it is. It just makes it when you apply these, it's really quick. Or if you don't have it, it's pretty slow, but it's pretty seamless basically to rebuff is my point. But anyways, after that I'm using this Helm Splitter Axe because I decided to go with this set called Reslove Inari. And what this does is it gives me health, gives me effect duration, and gives me the damage taken, right? Now, my general idea was like, oh wow, 30 effect duration, that must be crazy. Unfortunately, effect duration on gear does not seem to be nearly as impactful as it is with intelligence, or intellect or whatever. So I don't know if that's a bug or something that they might patch in the future, but I think, honestly, I was pretty disappointed when I was testing this, and I had this effect duration and my, weapon buff only lasted for like, 2 more seconds or something like that. So, but again, like I said, equipment's pretty flexible here. You can kind of do what you want. But after that, I have 4 pieces of the Tadanashi set. And the reason that I don't have the 5th is because I'm using this amulet here, which if you're not familiar with what the Yasukari Magatama is, basically it has this, it's a very rare item, by the way, that you can only get in New Game Plus. So I understand a lot of people are not going to have this, and it's not required, like I said. I mean, gear is not really the important aspect of the build here. But what this does is it reduces the set bonus requirements. So, yeah, basically it's just required, I would say, for, min-maxing like in-game builds. You're going to want to get this eventually, right? But if you're just playing new game, again, you'd be totally fine with like 5 pieces of Tadanashi and then like some red crimson up here or something, right? But anyways, so Tadanashi, that's the main set that I was going for simply because it has a lot of damage reduction. And we get a nice damage boost from equipment weight, and the Tadanashi set is very heavy. So it's pretty sizable increase in damage there, which is nice. And yeah, for the other pieces that I'm using one Kentaro's Gauntlet, or one of the Kentaro's set, simply because it has this really, really nice 2-piece bonus of damage taken, minus a percent, and it scales up your level. So the higher level that you get, the higher the higher gear level that you have, the higher the reduction will be. So 10% decreased damage while attacking is insane. And really, the only time we're getting hit is when we're attacking, because we're just, again, kind of running at the enemy, healing, and just spamming shit, and just trying to burn the enemy pretty much as quickly as possible. So having any kind of damage reduction while attacking is really, really nice. But yeah, one of the Kentaro things here, and then this, and my 2 leaves here is all part of the Grace of the Inari set. So yeah, those are the set bonuses. And what do I have on these here? So on Crucible Saws here, I added melee key damage. I'm going to change Life Drain low attack because I just found out, like, I don't know, like a day or so ago, that it's pretty much useless. Low attack stuff does not apply to martial arts. And honestly, the Life Drain effect, I don't know if it's bugged or what, but it's so bad right now. Like, you just don't heal for much at all. Like, it's crazy. So I'm going to change that once I get a couple more recovery materials, just to simply more life recovery and read absorption. So that will move me from 55 to 61, which is pretty nice. But after that, you want to make sure you get the extended elemental weapon, because again, the whole idea a lot is we're going to be buffing the whole time. I'll show you my skill sets here. This is kind of my roaming set here. Well, I have 2 different talismans, and I have like a armor decrease for my skills on the left there. You can kind of see. And basically, I just always have some kind of weapon buff on. And then if I'm like fighting a hard boss, I will use this because I have the water talisman over here, which is going to debuff the enemy and allow me to do more damage. And I have the armor thing, and I have this here, so I can try to apply confusion and stuff. But I'll get into that a little later. But my point is, I'm always having some kind of elemental weapon buff, even when just running around killing trash mobs and stuff. Always want that weapon buff because the damage that you get is really, really nice. And I think it scales off your weapon damage too, I'm pretty sure, like the talisman damage that you get. So yeah, again, we attack so fast where it's like tons of elemental damage. And like I said, the elemental build-up too that you get from this is really, really nice. And since we attack so fast, like I said, you're going to be putting elemental status ailments on enemies all the time. But anyways, yeah, so make sure that you get the extended elemental weapon. After that, your axe doesn't really matter. Your gun, this does matter a lot because you can put some stuff here where you can just basically have it here, not have it on your armor. So what you want to get on your weapon is gain Amrita on strong attack. This is very important because this is how we're going to heal. So we have all this life recovery and Amrita absorption. We got to make sure we have one thing that has gain Amrita on strong attack. Now it's important to point out that it doesn't matter how many of these we have to gain Amrita strong attacks. You're still only going to proc 3 orbs every time you hit. So you can have like gain Amrita strong attack on every piece you want, but it's not going to change the amount that you heal for. So it's just very redundant to do that, and it's just a waste of space. So you only need on one. Put it on your gun. I also have the Palladius, or whatever it's called, Amrita absorption on here. That's another thing with Amrita absorption. You can get a lot of really good bonus effects just from basically hitting triangle. So every time I absorb this, I will get a buff that I think this boosts my Spirit Guardian gauge or something like that, so I get my Spirit Guardian a little bit quicker. And then after that, you know, a little bit more recovery and absorption on here. For my helmets, I have melee attack, key consumption, minus 8%. It's important that you go with melee attack and not low attack, again, because it won't affect your martial arts if you do that. But if you have melee attack, that's going to affect all your attacks. So just make sure you do that. We're going to take damage taken. So we have a little bit less damage, key recovery, and then obviously Amrita absorption. For the chest piece here, damage taken, Amrita absorption. I went with damage taken critical just in case like I get in a really weird situation, because the number is so high, like the reduced damage that you get for these critical things, like 7.4, and you're basically critical when you're under 30%, I think, by the way. So basically, my thought was just like, yeah, I mean, if I get in that situation, it'll just give me a little more time to change some heavy attacks and heal real quick, right? It's just such a massive bonus where I feel like even though it's very situational, it can save your ass in a bad situation. So that's what I went with, and I also went with a little more key recovery. Kintaro's Gauntlets. Want to make sure you get the increased damage dealt Amrita absorption. Now, the way that buffs work in this game, as far as I can tell, is that if they share the same buff icon, you can only have one at a time, right? So it's kind of redundant to get a lot of, you know, increased damage dealt or something through other means. If it has the same icon, basically what will happen is the game will take your strongest effect, and it will just replace the one that you have, and whichever one's strongest, you'll just use that. So I just went with something very easy. Like, I'm not using the talisman that buffs your attack or anything like that, because again, it's annoying to have to do that all the time, and it only lasts like 20 seconds. But this is something we just autopilot, right? We hit triangle, we get this increased damage buff. Now, it might not be as much as like, you know, the Carnage talisman or something like that, but it's still really nice, and we don't have to micromanage it, which is obviously a very nice addition. But after that, a little more life recovery. Again, melee attack, key consumption, and damage taken. Tadanashi's Waist Guard, life recovery, faster movement, again, Amrita absorption, damage taken critical. The reason that I took the damage taken critical on the chest piece and the Waist Guard, though, again, is because for some reason the chest piece and Waist Guard have higher numerical values than like your gloves or your greaves down here. So you want to put the number stuff on your chest piece and your Waist Guard if you can, but mostly your chest piece. But anyways, yeah, after that, damage taken critical, and then reduced damage taken, and then lastly for the greaves here, key recovery speed, Amrita absorption, damage taken, and Amrita absorption, damage taken. And for my accessories here, again, if you can get it, you really want to get a Yasakani Magatama. It's New Game Plus only, not required, but if you can get it, this is obviously just going to make you stronger. And I like the Two Leaves accessory here, simply because it has the melee attack key consumption, minus 4.5. But anything is really fine here. I mean, use whatever you want as far as these accessory slots go. But yeah, after that, I think we can go ahead and get into the stats and stuff. Like I said, I'm very, very in-game. I'm pretty much done. I might just get max level just for fun and then hang it up, but I'm very high level. But I'll show you my stats and stuff real quick here. Explain why I put what I did. There we go. Alright, so currently, like I said, I'm probably just going to get max level. Just for fun. I think, how many can I have in? I got 4 levels there. But anyways, 237 right now. Now I got a lot of weird kind of looking stats here, like 33 Constitution, 25 Heart, 25 Strength. And the reason that these are like this is because I've noticed that these are where the stats really start to change a little bit. And for some reason, like when you hit 25 heart and 25 strength and stuff like that, you get like a double boost for the 25th point. Like it's really strange. Basically, I got like double stamina or something on heart when I hit 25, and I got like double key damage when I hit 25 for my point value, basically, is what I'm saying. So instead of getting like, say, 0.6, I would get like 1.2 or something. And it just kind of made it so it made sense to get 25 in these just to kind of like min-max it. But 33 Constitution, all the way up to 33, you get 12 points. After 33, you start getting 9 points of health. So just another little nice soft cap kind of thing there. But anyways, what you want to invest in here is you want to go stamina, so we can get into the agility B there. As you can see, I'm at 69.9, so I need 55 stamina to get agility B. You also want to put a lot into skill because it's going to boost your arts proficiency power. For the rest of my stuff, for the rest of my skills, or points, I'm going to go right into skill here just to try to boost my arts proficiency power, which makes it so you do more damage and stuff like that. 55 intellect, this is another good one because it's pretty impactful on how long buffs and debuffs last. Like I said, way more impactful than the effect duration on gear for some reason. So you want a good amount of this, and it boosts your key recovery speed. So it's just a really, really good stat. And then magic 25, so I can soul core stuff and have that force slot for my magic. Let's see here. After that, skills. Okay. I actually wrote stuff down this time so I don't forget stuff. Skills. Okay. So what I've taken here is I take artifact defense. Is basically this makes it so you don't lose your artifact gauge when you get hit. So it's just easier to like do damage basically. Because if you don't have this, you're going to get hit a couple times and basically be back to your normal form. So this is pretty much mandatory if you ever want to do any kind of artifact stuff, which you should just because you do way more damage. I got the Panacea Cure Fest for a little bit more life restored from elixirs. Key sapping follow-up, which basically increased my damage against winded and those out of key. Awakening, very, very important one. Like I said, it makes you use your Omnio magic faster, which makes it so you can use your weapon buffs just way quicker. Because if you don't have this and you're trying to buff, every time it runs out, it just becomes really a drag. So make sure you get this. Amplification extends the duration of your Omnio magic, so this will extend the duration of your weapon buffs and stuff a little bit. And, your debuffs too. We do have the armor debuff, so this helps with that as well. And then with the extra points that I had, I just took attack mastery. I'm still missing quite a bit of skill capacity. As you can see, I only have 26 points. So, yeah, I mean, once I get more points, I'm not sure. I just have attack mastery 1 kind of filling stuff right now, and then, I don't know, attack mastery 2 is okay. These aren't really as impactful, though. So I'd probably drop this and pick up something else down the road if I can find more of the skill books. But for now, this stuff is pretty mandatory, I would say, though. Now for Samurai here, got Destructive Arts. It's a really, really good one. Like I said, we're going to be applying a lot of status effects because we're going to be in arts proficiency pretty much all the time. So this will increase our elemental damage that we do and build up elemental statuses by 10%. So it's very, very good skill there. Impressive Strength, another mandatory one, I would say. Prevents you from being staggered while you use your strong attacks and martial arts while arts proficiency is active. This is just basically going to let you just go and completely ham on the enemies without having to worry about getting knocked out of your combo or something like that. So very important there. Unshakable, reduces damage while you're attacking by 10. Single slash kata increases your strong attack damage by 7%. Very good. Like I said, we're mostly, especially before we're in arts proficiency, going to be using a lot of strong attacks. So the additional 7% damage is really, really good. This one here, double-edged arts. This might look scary to some people, but I promise you it's not. Again, we have so much healing, and the only time that we're in arts proficiency really is when we're attacking, right? And if we're going to get knocked out of arts proficiency, we're going to get hit like 1 time. So you're really not taking much more damage at all. The 20% boost that you get is significant, and you are literally not even going to feel that 30% increased damage. Because again, it's not all the time. It's for a very small window that you'll take that. But if you're attacking in arts proficiency, which you will be doing, you're going to be taking advantage of stuff like reduced damage taken while you're attacking and the constant healing effect. So this is not a problem at all to have this. It's just a huge, massive damage bonus boost, and I highly recommend it. And then for the last 2 points, I'm using running water just to try to get rid of some of those freaking yokai fields, man. Those things are so annoying. But yeah, I just had additional points to not use that. Again, I'm still missing a little bit of skill capacity. So if I got like 2 more points, I might do something else. But for now, I'd say these 5 though are pretty mandatory if you really want to like min-max your build and stuff like that. Ninja doesn't matter because we don't use it. After that, we can go to the clan bonus. So what I'm using here is I'm using the life recovery and reabsorption from the Toyotomi clan. Then I'm also using the damage taken while attacking from the Kato clan because it's just insane. Huge boost. 16.6 damage while attacking. And again, like the only time we're really going to get hit at all is when we're attacking. So just these 2 are what I suggest. After that, let's see here. We're getting the soul cores, I think. Omni box here. So I'm using 2 new Peppo soul cores here, and what this does is it's going to give you a little bit of life and a really good amount of life recovery, 12 per Peppo core. So you want 2 of these, and I also put melee damage for the 3rd thing there. And if you weren't familiar, which honestly I had no idea this was even a thing until about a day ago, when I just happened to be in here like messing around with some spells or something, you can go to soul core transformation. If you have these blue soul cores, you can literally change out the bottom thing. So you don't have to farm for a particular, blue soul core or something. You can change this out and just use soul core fragments to get what you want. So something to keep in mind. I've seen a lot of build videos on YouTube where people like have these super unoptimized blue soul cores. It's like they don't know that you can do that, which again I did for a while too, but that's just something to take note of. So it's very easy to be able to get like increased melee damage on these kind of things, by the way. Let's see here. Okay, magic I'm using. Like I said, real quick, this is kind of my roaming setup here on the left. I have basically lightning talisman, and then I have fire talisman, and that's basically just so I can have buffs active all the time. And then I also occasionally will use the armor debuff thing to, if there's like a semi-strong enemy that I need to debuff. So this is my roaming setup here. And this is my boss setup, which is the water talisman, again the debuff for armor, and I will use this, I forget what it's called, but basically you get from one of the I think they're like the pride demons or something like that. But basically what this does, this will, after I apply a status effect with my attacking, or even before, because fire lasts a long time, I will hit this, and it will basically apply confusion on the enemy, and I'll just do way more damage. Because pretty much every time I hit that, it will cause the enemy to burn. But yeah, so basically, again, lightning talisman, water talisman, fire talisman, hellfire talisman, that's what it's called, and the weakness talisman are the ones that I'm using. Okay, after that, let's do the, show you which guardian spirit I'm using here. Now, this is kind of up to you. I decided to opt for a little more damage because before I was using O here, and the reason is because this has 15 life recovery and Amrita absorption, which is insane. But I have so much like defense and Amrita absorption where I really don't need it. I just kind of figured like, okay, I'm benefiting from one thing on this. Whereas Kusanagi, there are 3 different things here which I really like, which is the martial arts damage, the key pulse recovery, and the proficiency damage. So I went with Kusanagi, but if you want a little more survivability, you can go with O. It's really up to you. But there's just a lot of damage up here in Kusanagi, and I just figured, like, again, I'm not dying ever, so a little more damage is always nice. And then after that, I think lastly, if my list is correct, talents, or titles rather. So for Samurai here, you want to take the melee attack key consumption, and then martial arts damage. Ninja doesn't matter. Tactics here, get you key recovery speed. I was messing around with Omnio Magic, which is useless. I just have it like this. Probably want to go with like Living Artifact duration, but I was checking if Omnio Magic affected Talisman elemental damage at all. It doesn't seem to. So just go, yeah, Living Artifact duration, I would say, is probably best bet there. Subjugation, you want to go with damage taken when your key is completed, because that does happen sometimes, and then just a little bit more elemental damage. You can even go final blow grapple damage if you want, because we are breaking enemies literally all the time. So whichever one you want, but I think elemental is a little more consistent simply because some of the bosses it's hard to get a grapple on, just because you got to be at their head or something like that. So elemental is just a little more consistent. Formidable enemies, we got melee key damage here, and I went with melee key damage on Scathe, because again we're healing so much, there's a lot of time where we're just, our health bar is just full. So this is basically just a free 2.1% damage right now. Crucible, you want to make sure, again, if we're using Crucible Weapon, max this out. This gives you flat 3.6% increased damage, and then I have luck here, just so I get a little bit better drops. Exploration, medicine efficiency, so you can heal a little more from your flask, and then I went with stealth, just so it's hard for enemies to see me. Facilities, whatever you want. Like if you're out in the wild, I would max out gold or equipment drop rate. If you need to sell shit, just put these down. Max out item sell price. This is something that you're going to be changing all the time. I'd say just that's how you make money. And then lastly, collection. Go with martial arts, damage, and then you want to obviously max out damage bonus from weight, because we have very heavy armor. And if you want, you can put stuff in the luck, but martial arts damage and damage bonus from weight, I would say, are the main ones. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm going to add some gameplay to the end of this video. And I recorded it separately just because last time I recorded a video I was having a lot of problems with audio and visual bugs and glitches and stuff. So I recorded it separately. Enjoy. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about as far as this build plays. It's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, try it out. You guys got any questions? Let me know. Leave a comment. Yeah. And thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Alright, so real quick, I realized that I forgot to talk about something that's pretty vital to the build, and that would be the Mystic Art Firm Resolve here. This is another reason that we just really don't worry about damage at all, especially while we're attacking here, because what this does is when you land an attack, you get a buff that reduces the amount of damage you take for a time, and if you still have the effect and keep attacking, it will stack. So basically while you're attacking, this would continue to stack, and we attack very, very quickly. So this is just an insane defense buff if you are using dual swords. So it's another reason why we are so tanky. I just wanted to add that because it's actually really, really important as far as how the build plays. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.